our next step here. Okay guys, you can see I've got everything tore back apart, and it was good that this thing's working, even though it's not in perfect order, but that may be due to my input voltage. Anyway, I need to create a base for the synchronous vibrator here to rest on, and you can see that other one had deteriorated over time. Looks like most of them were made out of a foam rubber around this area back to the base here, or the flat side of the socket itself. My lead length will be about 10 millimeters, and here's what I'm thinking about doing. I think I'll repurpose the pill bottle here, and I'm going to place this on the bottom. Then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to cut this tube probably around 15 millimeters back. I'll then mark the hole locations and go ahead and drill holes here for my leads. I'll remove this, and this will become my template for doing some casting here using some silicone rubber. So I was thinking about that. Silicone, great insulation properties, and I think I've got just a little bit left over from some of my casting I did for trying to reproduce some of those vintage radio knobs. So I'm going to mix up some part A and B and cast that in there up to about a height of about right in here. I'm going to go ahead and cover up this area. I don't think it'll do any harm at all. Then I'll tape across the bottom, hopefully to keep the silicone from seeping out. We'll let that set up for about 75 minutes. Then we'll cut it out or do whatever, and then see if that actually works. And then we can reattach the leads here to the pins here on the socket and get everything soldered back in, then try to get this placed back in the can. We'll see how it works out. Just a little remeasuring here. What I think I'm going to do is try to cast the silicone up to this point, about centerways of the fastener here. And that actually works out great because that's 10 millimeters. That gets me down to here, then another 10 millimeters of length itself, support between that and the top side of that socket itself. So I think I'll go 25 millimeters for a cut and create a fill line at 20. So 20 and 25. And this doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to go ahead and put a few marks here around it, and then I'll probably use a piece of tape as a guide. And if that's showing up here, I'll rotate it around. You can see I've got my marks there. I think here you can better see where I'll be drilling the holes for the leads themselves. And it just worked out perfect. I just happened to have an old pill bottle that was the perfect size. And just a visual where my fill 2 location will be. And there you have it. I can see those from the bottom side. So let me go get a drill here large enough to be able to get the wire in, but also nice and tight, so we don't have a lot of the silicone leaking through. Just make sure that that feeds through there, and it does. I'll go ahead and do the rest of these off camera here. Okay, there's a look at everything there, drilled out and ready. Alright, now I went on and marked the side, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But we'll start here. You got the two large pins being pin number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and ended up with number 6 here, which is ground. And you can see I've got them marked here. These leads here twisted together, feed them through. And this ground connection here, I'll probably use some heat shrink on it since it resides in the middle section. The others I think will be fine. And I'll see how this one routes through number 6 pin. The ground that I mentioned, I may not. Just want to make certain I don't get a short. Not worried about anything once the silicone gets in there to create the insulation that we need between the conductors. Okay guys, here's everything ready to mix up the silicone and pour it in here. I'm not going to use any mold release. I'm going to just take my chances. The reason why I don't want to take a chance of getting the contacts extremely dirty or create any problems here with the synchronous vibrator. So I think I'll be able to get this off. I've got enough room here. I can actually clip it off if necessary. But we won't know till like 75 to 90 minutes at best. And I've triple checked, and I think I've got everything oriented correctly where my lead wires will come out correctly. See, I got part A and part B here fairly even, I think. Just eyeballing it. So let me go ahead and get these mixed up, stir them up really good, and then we'll pour it in. Okay, I've got everything stirred up here. Let me see if I can get this in here without making a big mess. Okay, we'll let that settle. I think that's about enough product there. A few other things to do here while the silicone cured. So about 2 hours time. Should be ample time here for this to set up. Let's see if I can get it removed here from the pill bottle. And you can see I did have a little bit of the silicone leak through, and I expected that. Shouldn't be a big deal. Alright, I think I will give this a few cuts here. See if I can get down to the bottom here. Get this to release. Okay, you can see I made some cuts here, and see if I can get these leads to work their way back through. There we have it. So that worked out really well. Let me check DC resistance now. I think that's a good look at it. Creates a nice base there. And I may have to do a little trimming to be able to get that in the can itself. As you can see, or just move it around here just a bit. And just putting my final touches here on my testing. Everything looks good. I think we're ready to solder the leads back on. Then we'll look at doing some trimming afterwards to get this thing back in the can. Just a little cleaning of the leads here with some alcohol. And of course I'll still have to take this one back some and shorten it up, get the insulation off as well. I'm going to go ahead and take some time here and tin these leads as well. Okay, I'll look at things here. I'm going to do one more DC resistance check here just to make certain I've got everything threaded through correctly and no mistakes are made before I go to the trouble and hassle here of soldering everything down, then clipping off the excess conductors. Okay, I'll continue to repeat that process and we'll come back and clean the pins real good. I'll snip these leads off here, then just clean up the solder connections here. Okay folks, there you have it. Everything soldered up, and I went back and just triple checked again just to make 100% certain that I had continuity here back to the right locations. So I think that turned out fairly well. Now let me see if I can stuff this back in the can. If not, we'll do some trimming here to make it fit, but that should give it a nice area to rest on. Most likely better than you know, the product that was used back in the day. By the way, I do want to take a look at the length here, and it looks perfect. Let me grab a little bit of a petroleum jelly here and just put it around this area right in here ever so lightly and see if that will help. There we go. Slip right in place. Put this tab down. I've got this little locking ring here and put on. Then I think I can pull this back here, get this thing secured, then we'll solder this up and test it one more time. Okay, I got that back in there best I could. I'm going to go ahead and clean the contacts here, or pins, one more time with alcohol. And clean this area real well. I had to pull out the big gun here. And that took care of it. Nice clean solder connection there. Alright, one more DC resistance check here with everything back in the can. Okay, I've double checked. I've got everything jumpered back in correctly, and I've got the vibrator here installed. We should hear it start up. Got my ground location here, just going back to the outside of the bulb connection point, and we'll tie the DC in here. Keep an eye on the meter and listen for the synchronous vibrator to start. And I've got the speaker, of course, jumpered in right here. Okay, and my voltage is a lot higher now. I'm not sure why that would be, unless it was the jumpers I was using.
Center City Brave Gallery is open Tuesday through Saturday from noon to 5.
That's a good sign. So my B plus is higher than I actually anticipated and what I measured before. Again, that's plugged directly into the socket itself. You can hear that thing just vibrating away. Let's see if I can put something on it and you guys could hear it. So I think if I get the appropriate A battery, or I may just let it be with this. I doubt this radio is going to get played a lot. I think we'll be good. I'll go ahead and continue to watch the B plus voltage, but this is much better than what we had before. And it's humming right away, so that's pretty cool. And we've got that housing that we'll put back over that has the muffler built in, and get that reattached. But as I mentioned, I'll go ahead and let this play for a good 20-30 minutes and see if it seizes up like it did before. If it doesn't, we'll call it a success, and if it does, we'll maybe look at an alternate solution here to power the radio in lieu of using the original rebuilt synchronous vibrator. Folks, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Take care. Still humming away.